Today we're going to do a tier list for Pilgrim's Traverse, and there's going to be 4 tier lists here, but we're going to start with jobs. And what this tier list is really a tier list of how fun I found each job individually, because I have now cleared solo on every job. This is my housing display that has all the job stones representing the jobs I've cleared on, and now they're all there. Quest complete. Now, is this tier list going to help you clear? Well, not necessarily. The way Pilgrim's Traverse is designed, I don't feel like your choice of job really affects whether you clear or not. Every time I duty failed in this deep dungeon, it was due to making mistakes and not actually to things that the deep dungeon threw at me that I wasn't able to manage. So making mistakes at bosses was easily my #1 duty fail. Occasionally I would have a duty fail to a monster, but that was pretty uncommon. Like, I don't know, maybe like once or twice in general. It's just very rare. The main reason to duty fail is really making mistakes. And your choice of job doesn't affect that. I feel like these jobs generally have a 100% clear rate, except for player error. And that's just because of how the dungeon's designed. Now, some jobs are going to be harder than others in the sense that you need stronger deep dungeon fundamentals in order to make them work. But that's mostly time management and not any other skill set. And time management plays into palm ender sense, like how and when to use your palms and how to generate more palm enders. So, once you have a strong sense of fundamentals, you can clear on a healer if you want. And healer is going to have probably the most struggle, but healer's not bad in here either. So, I'll do this in clear order. My first clear was on Summoner. I really like Summoner, just in general. Like, I like old Summoner from Shadowbringers. Rest in peace. But in Deep Dungeon, Summoner is very comfortable because it plays like Fizz range, so when conditions are appropriate, you can use Summoner to kite and explore while still dealing damage, and that feels good. You also have AoE sleep, just like any caster does, and you don't have a whole lot of buttons to press, so it can be a very straightforward job so that you can pay attention to what's happening in the dungeon instead of paying attention to your rotation. And sometimes that is a big benefit. Now, that also means Summoner's not the most exciting thing in the world. So I'm putting it in the middle. My next clear job was Black Mage, which is also fun. No real complaints about Black Mage. It has a lot of damage. It definitely feels like it packs a lot of damage. You can reset your rotation from the top every floor. Or not every floor, but every time you pull a mob. So it's just damage, damage, damage. If you like Black Mage, there's no reason Black Mage can't succeed here. I don't really have much else to say about it. It has a lot of mobility because it has triple cast. It's got multiple charges to triple cast. Black Mage is fine. After that, I pivoted to doing a non-caster, so I did Dancer. I didn't enjoy Dancer very much. It had not a lot of damage. I'm not a Dancer main. In fact, I don't main most of these jobs. So that will influence my placement of some of them for sure. But Dancer, oh man. I mean, I thought Fizz range would be fine, and it is fine, but it is lower damage. So you may run into more time constraints on jobs that either you don't know how to optimize well, or jobs that are lower damage, or jobs that are both, that you don't know how to optimize and are low damage. So that may be what made Dancer not feel amazing to me. But I just didn't dig it that much. After that, I pivoted. I wanted to do something that I did know how to play pretty well. So I did Dark Knight. I really enjoyed that. I liked it more than the 2 casters I did previously. I'm not sure why. Tank is lower damage than DPS, but it didn't feel like a big drawback here. And having stun every 25 seconds, there's a lot of stuff that stuns. That is probably one of the biggest benefits of Tank, is that you can stun a lot of things. A lot of really obnoxious stuff. You can just stun and not deal with it. You don't even have to, like, mitt and survive an AoE. You just don't deal with it. So, there you go. tank has some very clear and definite upsides. My next clear after that, Viper. I don't like how this job plays. I don't really like the use it or lose it nature of its OGCDs, which, you know, proc off of your rotation at some point, and you have to use them before you use your next GCD. And what I didn't like about that is, you know, having to double weave two things before hitting my next GCD would also mean sometimes I would either delay my next GCD because I needed to triple weave to use one of my regen pots, or, you know, do my rotation funny because I need to fit in a regen pot. So it just didn't feel great. I didn't like it that much. Well, after that, I believe I did. Huh. I believe it was Warrior. Where is it? Yep, Warrior was fine. I like Dark Knight more. Don't know why. I think maybe it felt like it packed a little bit more damage. It was fun. There's nothing wrong with Warrior. After this, it was getting close to getting my Chandelier because I had done party clear in addition to my solos. So, I did Astro. I wanted that to be my Chandelier job. I had so much fun on Astro. And yeah, Astro's damage is bad. It's really low. So you really have to be more proactive with your Pomanders. You have to use them and, you know, and trust that you'll get them back. You have to make some very interesting choices for time because Astro's damage really is that bad. But it's also really fun for doing big pulls because you have light speed, you have gravity, you have all these other like little heal and shield buttons, and its landmines are very, very comfortable. Astro just felt like it could make a ton of plays, and getting to do plays where you get to hit a lot of buttons is a lot of fun. So I had a ton of fun on Astro. Huge recommend if you want to make this dungeon feel more challenging, without necessarily making it so challenging that you just take out your jobster and play a class, because that will be a level of cursed, you know, that you can try if you want. I'm not quite there yet with this dungeon, where I feel like I need to do that. So after this, I moved on. White Mage. I liked White Mage. That was great. A lot of fun. Presence of Mind giving you Glare 4 instacast, lets you kite stuff as you're and deal damage at the same time. Feels great. A size is great. Ethereal Shift for dash is fantastic. One of the things you'll find in this deep dungeon, or maybe a deep dungeon in general, at least for me, is the more movement buttons a job has, the more fun I have on it. And Ethereal Shift, you don't get that often, but it feels great. It feels really good. So I had a lot of fun on White Mage. It felt like it just had a lot of damage even for a healer, and recommend. I liked it a lot. So after this, I was on a healer kick. I wanted to get them all out of the way. I wanted to get the title on my ult, so I ran Scholar, and oh boy, I did not like Scholar. Scholar can make plays. It has a kit for doing it. Its landmines are very comfortable, but it just doesn't have much it can do damage-wise. And if you're ever fighting stuff one-on-one and you just want more damage, energy drain is just not great. So overall, Scholar, underwhelming. I see people do very well on it and put up really strong scores. I just did not like it that much. So for me, Scholar is it was a job I was glad to be done with. And then to round that out, I did Sage, which I enjoyed more than Scholar because it has more buttons. It has Phlegma, it has Pneuma, it has Psyche, it has an AoE dot, it has Toxicon, which it can get more procs for as it's doing a big pull just by shielding itself. So it has tools for damage, it has tools for making pulls feel interesting that Scholar just doesn't, because having Baneful Impaction every 2 minutes is just not all that. It's not all that. It's just weak. So I enjoyed it more, but not that much. I was glad to be done with it. And that's kind of the theme for the last 2 tiers. I'm glad to be done with them. So let's see what happened next. I wanted to do... wanted to round out the tanks, so I needed to get a tank out of the way, so Paladin. Paladin I liked about as much as Warrior. I thought I would like it more because being able to throw swords once a minute at a distance to kite stuff seems great, seems better than Dark Knight. I just like Dark Knight more for some reason. Don't know why. But Paladin's fine. It's good. You know, I tend to main most of the tanks, and I just had a good time. But for whatever reason, I like Dark Knight more. Let's see. At this point, I wanted to get the melees out of the way. So, because I'm not really a melee main for raiding content, my buttons were terrible. I had to redo all my buttons, and so this was a real long part of prog for me, is getting used to new muscle memory. So I started with Samurai, because I'm pretty comfy from doing EO Samurai. That was fun. A lot of damage. It's never lacking for damage. It's never lacking to be able to kill bosses within a strength and a steel. That's true of all the melee. They can all do that very comfortably. So can the casters. So that's really nice. Not much to say. Samurai was fun, but I don't know. It was fine. After that, I really wanted to get Dragoon out of the way because I just don't like this job. It has a line AoE as its standard AoE, which is interesting for doing pulls. You would think that would make it stronger than jobs that have like circular cones, but it really didn't feel like it. So I just didn't enjoy Dragoon very much. I was pretty okay to be done with Dragoon. In fact, the biggest issue with it is really those animation lock buttons, or the buttons that send you to the monster, even if it doesn't animation lock you, it just sends you. So if the monster like teleports away, like a boss teleporting to a wall, that can be nerve-wracking. So I was frequently afraid to hit my buttons on Dragoon. It has a very rigid rotation, which I'm also not crazy about. So I just didn't like it that much. So it goes down here in the heap, even though its damage is fine. But for me, and it's probably because of how I was playing it, it was the lowest damage of all the melees. Like I took longer to kill bosses on it than anything else. After that, I did I think Reaper. That was pretty fun. I had a good time. It felt like it had great AoE damage. It felt like as I was, you know, and if I was one-on-oneing something on the later floors, I would always get procs of things so that I could like kill it faster. That felt great, just like Samurai. It was a good time. Did Monk after that. Monk, a lot of damage. That was a lot of fun. You would think that not having a range pull would make it like kind of more challenging or hard, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. So I had fun on Monk. In fact, I think it was one of my strongest jobs in terms of like fighting bosses. That and Picto. I just really bullied bosses on those things. And I'm not a Monk main. I just asked a Monk main, how do you play Monk? And it's really easy to do a lot of damage on it. So it was fun. Good time. Let's see. What did I do after that? Well, I wanted to get the jobs done that I knew how to play the least before moving on to finish off the jobs that I'm comfortable on. But I needed to do my challenge log for the week on my alt, so I did Pictomancer. I just had a lot of fun with Pictomancer. This job just is so much damage. Now, I do play Pictomancer pretty comfortably outside of Deep Dungeon, so this positioning does have to do somewhat with my comfort level with the job, and I like Picto. It's funny that it's right next to Astro, because like here's this job whose damage is ass, and here's this job whose damage is pumping are right next to each other for fun factor for me. But, it's kind of a duality. It's like, Astro has to plan really well in order to not time out, and Picto really doesn't. But it's too extreme. It's like, this is when I really want to push myself, and this is when I just want to, like, have a chill time and blow things up. So they're both fun. Also, Smudge, movement tool, fantastic. Really great. Smudge is fantastic. It's just fun. It feels so busted how often you get to Smudge. Yeah. So now it was time to get rid of the last job that I don't know how to play at all. That was Bard. Don't know how to play this job. I looked up rotations for it, but even with that guidance, I felt like this was a lot of buttons to deal not very much damage. And certainly Bard mains out there can do way more than I do. In terms of bullying mobs, I assume. But I felt like it had so little damage, I had to play it like a healer, where I would need to use my resources proactively and trust they would come back. Which, in some cases is fun, because like Astro needs to do that, Scholar needs to do that. White Mage has enough damage, it doesn't really need to do that. But Bard was just like desperate for damage. I had a strength drought, I think, at one point in like the 70s, and I was just like, oh god, this is so bad. So yeah, I did not enjoy Bard, unfortunately. So it's going down here in the heap. After that, I had a tank, which I knew was going to be comfortable, and 3 jobs that are just going to be fun. So I did Red Mage. Red Mage, I had a lot of fun on that, mostly because of movement tools. I always like Red Mage in Deep Dungeon, partly because movement tools, and partly because you get to build your gauge and carry it from encounter to encounter, and that just feels really good. It's just a lot of fun, so I just really personally enjoy Red Mage in Deep Dungeon. It's a fun job. It's great in field ops, it's great here, and it felt like it had quite a bit of damage too. It did well. After that, Gunbreaker. Gunbreaker got one of my better scores. I'm not really much of a score runner, but Picto got my highest, and then I think Gunbreaker was my next after that. Among the tanks, it really felt like it was never lacking for damage. It had damage whenever it needed it, and it had a lot of good buttons. I really liked Aurora. I really liked Heart of Grundum. Those are just really nice to have whenever you wanted them. And it's interesting because for me, I like the other 3 tanks for rating a lot more than Gunbreaker. So I was surprised that I liked it so much in here. I thought it was going to be the tank I enjoyed the least, but it's good. After that, Ninja. Ninja is a lot of fun. I'm really debating if I want to put it in the top or down here. Oh man. You know what? Ninja is so fun for climbing because Shikuchi is a great button. Like, teleporting is fantastic. Being able to refresh your teleport by using a Mudra is amazing. And then there's Hide, which plays so hard into how much I love seeing a room has mobs in it and hitting a button and saying I can ignore them. Now, score runners will hate that because they're going to see that as lost points. But sometimes you just don't feel like hitting more buttons, man. Sometimes you just want to leave. And that's what Ninja's great at. It's very funny, too, because Ninja's Hide, there's no proximity mobs on the last set, on 91 to 100, so it's possible for Ninja to zone into a floor, hit Maze Route, and then hide and walk all the way out to the key. As long as you don't walk through a sound mob, you'll just leave. Ninja can just say deuces. So funny. So, Ninja's damage was also really, really fine. It was nice. I didn't have any issues with it. I had a lot of fun. And the Machinist was my very last one. I saved it to last because it was my Necromancer job. And that wasn't really because of, the meta. It was just when I was leveling Machinist, I was leveling it in Palace, and I thought, wow, it feels amazing. This job's great. And then I then I learned it's like the best job in Palace. But really, Machinist is a lot of fun in here. Peloton is its only movement tool, and even though having fun movement buttons is a great influencer for me in how fun a job is in Deep Dungeon, especially with the desert floors and Pilgrim's Traverse being so big. Like, Machinist's ability to kite just means it can always just keep going. And the fact that it has so much single target damage when it wants it means that a lot of times when you're kiting stuff, it's just gonna die. Like, you're gonna get where you're going, and the stuff following you is gonna be mostly dead, and that feels good. So, yeah, that was Machinist. I really liked it. I expected to like it more, but that's okay. This is a good showing. So for me, there were only a couple jobs that I would say were pretty miserable. Some jobs where I just don't vibe with them. Plenty of jobs that are reasonably fun. Some jobs that I particularly like, and then, like, these are fun. And, you know, this isn't a tier list of what's the best. This is a tier list of what I found fun. And so as far as that goes, I'm a big proponent of using Deep Dungeon to, like, learn jobs that you don't really know real well. I'm also a big proponent of using Deep Dungeon to, you know, give yourself an opportunity to do something kind of hard. And for that, I think playing a healer in here is really fantastic. It's a lot of fun. So if I were to order these rows in likelihood of replaying, I would more likely replay Scholar than Dancer. I would more likely replay... I would least likely to replay Bard. That is probably one and done. Would I replay Dragoon? I'd probably replay Dancer before Dragoon. Just because Stardiver scares me. Would I play Viper? Or Sage? That's tough. I might... Oh, I don't know. Probably Sage. Healers are more interesting than Viper. Viper is so bare bones. Alright. This big row. What would I most likely replay? Probably casters, because I'm a caster main. Tanks, I feel like I'll kind of play the same. So I'm less likely to replay a tank than probably most of this other stuff, I think. Although, probably want to play Paladin before this. This might be it for my order of replay. I just really liked my Samurai Glam as part of it. I really liked, Reaper felt really good. But yeah, it'd probably be like this. Ooh, this row. I think probably, might look like this. I think. And then here, this is probably correct. Yeah. All right. Now, if you want a tier list for what should you play to clear, well, basically that is hard for me to tell you because it needs to be a job that you are comfortable on. You don't have to look at the buttons. And that's the main thing, honestly. That is what you should be playing, is a job where you do not have to look at the buttons. I'm a proponent of clearing on DPS, primarily because you don't have to budget your palms. You don't really have to budget them the same way that healers do. So, you know, if you run out of strengths on a DPS job, you're still fine. Healing isn't really a big deal because Pilgrim's potions are really easy to farm. So the sustain element is not really super important. It's everything else that I think is helpful with DPS. And you can say, what about tanks? Well, I do feel like tanks have a lot of damage on the later sets. My Paladin clear felt like it was really chewing things up. It was just taking stuff out, no problem. But I think one reason a lot of people go for tanks is they feel like they can make more mistakes. And in a sense, like a tank does give you the ability to make more mistakes at a boss without a duty fail, and also somewhat on the floors. The invuln isn't going to be as important, because you're probably not going to be in too many situations where an AoE is going out and you hit an invuln and it's in time, is the thing. And I don't think that playing tanks just so that you can stand in unfamiliar AoEs and hope to survive is really a good way to go. So I think DPS is good because you do need to respect the content and not take damage that you should be avoiding. Whereas tank can take some of that for a while. But healers are great too if you just want to clear on something that pushes you a little bit. So that's my tier list.